Hello, everyone. How's everybody doing today? Beautiful day, right? No, I think going into Liberty Week, just putting a button up on last week Cincinnati. Had a chance to look at the tape a couple times, and the takeaways are: yes, disappointed with the loss, disappointed with some play that we did have that we didn't execute, we didn't finish. But for the most part, when you look at it and who we were coming into the season, a relatively young team, where Drew was in terms of not having a spring, I feel like we're getting the train on the tracks, and we just got to stay diligent and working hard and getting better each and every day and learning from these losses. And what I got from it was we did not finish the drives when we needed to win those type of ball games. We didn't make the necessary stops when we had to. Certainly in the first quarter, first half, with the explosives offensively, or their offense on our defense or in their passing game. And it was like that all game long. So it really exposed who we are at this point in time. And we're just not there yet in terms of being able to go into a venue like that against a team like that and pull off a victory. Lack of communication on the defensive side of the football, which led to a few explosives. Offensively, we had our opportunities 4 times in their territory, came away with 0 points. So we're getting there. We're showing signs of growth, but we've got to learn how to finish, and that's only going to be done through time. That's going to be done through the course of the season. This is who we're becoming. But on the flip side, the positives were, hey, we were in the game. We were not outmanned or outmatched or not physical. We were not intimidated about the environment. We did not adhere to any distractions outside of the football game. We were engaged. We were positive. We fought hard. I saw growth out of Drew Pine. Really opened up the offense a bit. Have really married with the run game really well. Now we just have to, again, figure out a few things. And when you look at the game, you break it down into 2 halves. We won the second half, and that's what I challenged my team with. I said, listen, we're going to win the fourth quarter, and we did it on the points, on the board, on scoreboard, but we just didn't finish off strong to come away with the victory. So now, moving into this week, we know what we have to do during the course of our week of preparation to prepare for a really good football team. So with that, I'll open up for questions.
Obviously, in the passing game, tons of receivers, running backs, tight ends getting involved. It's obviously polar opposite from last year where Harold Fannin called everything. Obviously, new system and everything, but is that what you really envision in the passing game? Is just getting it quickly into a bunch of people's hands and everything? Yeah,
I mean, we have playmakers, and it's not about players. It's not about plays. It's players. And the fortunate thing is that we don't have a fan in the building. That'd be great. But Jaron Johnson, you look at the job he's done. We look at R.J. Garcia, who's starting to come on. Cameron Petaway also has been phenomenal for us as a running back in a return game. Finn Hogan is starting to get involved in it. We have yet to get Alan Middleton involved more. So Reese Scottsdale. So we got weapons, guys. You want to get the ball in their hands and let them do their thing. So anytime Drew has to distribute options and all of them can make plays, we want to do just that. We don't want to rely on one guy for all of our offensive production or one way of doing it. We have a system that we believe in. The run game sets up everything else. It is the foundation for our passing game of what we do. This is how we hang our hat. But when we have these guys that can make plays for us, and we're identifying that, we want to try to create matchup problems and figure out how we can get the ball in their hands.
Just from post-game with Cincinnati and just obviously a very positive outlook on things, for you. Have you kind of always had that? Is that something you've really developed in your coaching career? Just the way you're kind of talking to your team, it's not a loss, it's lessons learned.
Yep.
Have you ever always had that?
Well, I've always said that as a player. Ever since I played the game of football, I've been coached that way. Of course, you're a competitor. Of course, you want to win. But after the sting of the loss subsides, what's next? And the blessings are there. the who you are staring you right in your face. So you have to do something about that. And that's the blessing. Like, okay, we weren't very good in the red zone. We're 75% in the red zone. What's the next thing we need to do? We need to score touchdowns. Well, how do we do that? Well, we can't put ourselves in a bad position by having a person, too many men in the huddle. And that's on the coaching staff. That's on me. So those things I have to be conscious of myself to say, hey, we got the ball on the 1 yard line. This is how we want to get it in there. So it's those things. What's the point of harping over a loss and being, upset about it? It's good to be upset, but you have to have action behind that. So that's how I always looked at life. I look at life the same way. Everything is a blessing. Everything happens for my good. There's no such thing as a bad day. It's lessons as we go.
Eddie, the first half of the season, the schedule is as challenging as it gets. I was just curious, when you first took the job and kind of appreciated just kind of those first 6 games, were you kind of like, oh man, or bring it on, or a little bit of both when you kind of saw this first half of the schedule?
Well, I didn't really look at it in terms of a win-loss win, none of that nature. I had to figure out, who we were on the football field. And then once I figure out, what our strengths are, what our weaknesses are, and where the biggest areas for us to grow are, then I'm able to say, okay, I believe we can go out and compete against anybody. That's never been the issue for me. Things change from week to week. Injuries change the complexion of any team, and that's the nature of it. I never looked at it. Okay, the first half of the season is really our defining moment. Well, there's going to be a couple of teams in the back end of this deal where they're going to emerge and be a surprise too. So every week is different. So as we navigate through the first month or so, these are opportunities for us to find out again who we are, both philosophically speaking, but more importantly, who we are as a team and where we need to go and how we need to be one unit moving forward, and setting up for October and November to play meaningful football games, where we're hopefully competing for a championship or a bowl game or something along those lines. And that's what I preach day in and day out is we don't focus necessarily on the opponent. We focus on ourselves, and we have to focus on our job, doing our job very well. And whoever lines up against us on the schedule, that's who it is. And then we have to go out and execute to the best of our ability.
I was just curious, you've really embraced the grind and just kind of being all in, just kind of
stuck in the grind, man.
100 miles an hour. I was just curious. I saw the detail that your first 3 months you lived out of the Best Western. I was just curious, what was that like?
It was like living out the Best Western. It wasn't like anything. I had a bed, I had some food, I had access to a clean shower. Again, the waffles there were amazing. So I knew it was only a matter of time before I got settled, but it was important for me to try to get comfortable in my surroundings as best I could and not worry about, if my bed is comfortable, if I'm staying in a 5-star hotel. I was provided with shelter and good food, and I'm about to work. There are no excuses for me. I don't believe in excuses. I'm going to play the hand that's dealt, and that's it. There was no complaining by me, and I tell the kids the same thing. When they're complaining about, my eggs aren't over easy, or they're not scrambled egg whites. I said, we're not eating for pleasure. We're eating for results. So if it's grilled chicken and a vegetable and potato with no butter, guess what? That's what we're going to eat. We're eating for results, not for your pleasure. Now, when we win, you go out and you go get a steak. You go out and you get that pepperoni pizza with some sausage, bacon, and light salt. Whatever that is. But for the most part, that's how I've always trained. That's what I always believed in, that philosophy, and that's how I'm built. Well, actually, they have a waffle at the Best Western. Oh, okay. Yeah, since you asked, Waffle House, you get 2 waffles, scrambled eggs with cheese, grits, and I guess sometimes I get the Texas toast too. That's what's your order? I'm just curious. What was it? I don't eat a Waffle House much, but it's probably when you do go, when you. Ooh, chocolate chip pancakes. You're a chocolate chip pancake guy. I thought you would be buttermilk. You don't strike me as a chocolate chip guy. All right. Okay. Really? Wow. They do a good job there too. Great food.
Getting back to football for a second, you mentioned you guys won the second half. That meant you didn't win the first half. What can this team do to have better starts to games?
Great question. We're going to figure that out this week. I think we're starting fast. I think getting out there and getting that first down, offensively speaking, it sets up the tone. And again, seeing Drew only in 2 games, I'm still understanding his rhythm and what he likes and what the offense likes. So it's going to be important for us to focus on getting the first down and then allowing the offense to go from there. Defensively is getting off to a fast start by getting a 3-and-out or turnover. The special forces wise, I think we've seen that first game of the year, and I need our touchdown run. And Cam Petaway is a phenomenal back that can do that. So I think, and I've been on teams where we had slow starts, so you got to figure out ways of maybe going up tempo, maybe coming out in 2 minutes, just get that the energy going. But I have to look at how we practice, and are we starting out practice fast versus just easing into the day. So that's why I said we have to attack the day. The moment that we wake up, we strike our 3 T's, we go right to our drills, and it has to be a fast start to our practice habits versus saying, okay, today we're going to turn the switch on and go out here and expect to go fast. No, it doesn't work that way. It starts tomorrow morning. How fast do we start the day? And what's our approach in getting off to a fast and a crisp start that way? So that's how we solve that issue.
When you look at Liberty 1-1, perhaps they outplayed Jacksonville State last week, but turnovers were the major difference in that game. Is that become a good object lesson for your team about the importance of creating turnovers and protecting the ball?
That's always been my message from day one. I said we're going to run the football, we're going to stop the run, we're going to create turnovers, we're going to protect the football. And we do that every single day. We harp on ball security, keeping the ball on the outside arm. We talk about the defense making valid attempts at getting the ball out every time in practice, not just during live periods or during our physical periods, but on days when we don't have pads. Or if you see somebody holding the ball, being mindful of trying to work with your technique of getting the ball out, getting your 2 knuckles on the ball, striking with violence down and through, or getting your hands clawed around the nose of the football and ripping it out like you're starting up a lawnmower. Using those techniques, making sure that the running backs and receivers are making sure that back door is closed from behind and high and tight. So that's preached day in and day out. Whether it's spring, summer, or fall, winter, that is talked about. It's ball security and getting the ball out.
Bowling Green lost to Liberty 2 years ago to open the season. Are you using that as motivation, or is it new year, new team, new game?
I wasn't here 2 years ago, and that's in the past. This is a brand new era. We're mindful of this team. We're mindful of the success they've had. They're 21-5 in the last 2 years, an undefeated season. They have some explosive players offensively. They're capable of doing some great things defensively. They're battle tested. So with that in mind, I can't worry about who they were, what they did 2 years ago, or what Bowling Green did 2 years ago. Is what we do moving forward, who we are now, this team, this unit, and making sure our minds are right, our hearts are right, and that we know who this opponent is. We know our plan. We know the situations that we're going to be in, and that we have to execute thereafter at a high level, and not worry about what happened 2 years ago.
Obviously, you didn't coach Harold Fannin, but he had a great NFL debut yesterday for the Browns. How much of just kind of like a selling point can that be, just like in recruiting, just overall, like with the program, and you can be developed here and really succeed at the next level? Well,
you just said it. I mean, I was talking to one of my coaches the other day. We were talking about development, how much is it about development? It's the number one thing that we do is discipline development and using discernment to figure out how and when to apply those things. So when you come to a place like BG or Tennessee State, where you're going to develop your character, 1, 2, as a player to be a professional, 3, the details and nuances and the technique and fundamentals of a high professional level. And you saw that here for Fannin, is that if he had gone to, I don't know, left last year, went to Michigan State or Ohio State, he may have had some success, but I don't know enough success to get him to be a third rounder and to be seen. So you're going to get the touches, you're going to get the platform, you're going to get the opportunity to be coached and have a chance to play at the next level. And he was very fortunate enough to do that. So when we're talking to kids, it says, listen, if you're good enough, they're going to find you. You have to find a place where the coaching staff really harps on your personal development and the development of you as a player. And we have men on the staff that have developed young men. You know, I go back to my Tennessee State team. We have 5 or 6 guys currently right now that are playing at FBS schools. You know, Sanders Ellis at Purdue. We have Boogie Trotter at Marshall. A few other guys that Karate Benson at Wake Forest. So we've developed those kids over the last 3 or 4 years, and now they're getting opportunities to be starters or backups at these other places. So I embrace that part. There's still a place in college football where, yes, it's recruiting, but you have to develop along with that, and I firmly believe that. So I welcome that challenge. I love getting guys that have the measurables, the size, the speed. But if you have the heart to want to be challenged, to want to grow, to want to really grind, to be embraced and embrace the grind of what it takes to be great, we can do some good things together. And that's what I'm looking for in terms of recruiting. So yes, it helps that Fannin did stay, and he is now on the roster and having so far a good season, start to a season in the NFL.
Back at the Doit on Saturday, great environment for the opener. Just, what was that like, and just the expectations of just the fans bringing it for homecoming, great student crowd, first game. What do you expect for Saturday?
I hope the same thing. I hope the same energy. Pack the Doit. Great fan support. Student section was awesome. The band was great. Pudge was amazing. Leading the charge, creating great energy. So we're looking forward to having our alumni come back. People who have graduated, who's been a part of BG over the last few years, to come back and be a part of homecoming and bring the energy. So it's going to be much needed.
I think we had at least one question from Nick Pierce, the sideline radio guy for Liberty. I'm just going to put this on so he can talk. Okay. Go ahead, Nick.
Coach, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Hi. Appreciate you taking my question. First of all, before I get to that, though, I got to tell you, I was actually listening to SWV on the way to work today. So,
Nice. What song?
I did want to ask you, though, just about the recent opportunities for former Black NFL players getting head coaching opportunities. I know it's something you've talked a lot about. Can that open the door? You, Coach Vic, Coach Prime, can that open the door for other Black men who are maybe not former all-pro NFL players, but are still qualified to be head coaches at this level? Yeah,
and it has already. I mean, look at Eddie Robinson at Alabama State, who was a former teammate of mine. Chris Dishman, who's at Texas State University, who was also a teammate of mine. And their list goes on and on. You have former players who have coached in the game. They've coached at the HBCU level or at other places, but I think the fact that of who I am and the platform I do have, and myself and Prime and Michael Vick and Deshaun Jackson, it opens eyes to say, okay, there might be a different avenue to find other qualified men to be in these positions of leadership, and it's up for us to be successful. We have to show success, not so much, of course. Yes, you got to win, but also success in the community, success in fundraising, success in developing a quality product, both on the field, most definitely off the field, is so important for us. So I believe that this opens the door for a lot of former athletes that necessarily don't have to go through the process of being a GA first and having to go up the ranks that way. Maybe, it opens the eyes up for different organizations and institutions to look at the character of the man, to look at his track record, to see if he's the perfect fit for his program. So, for their program. So, I think it is a wonderful opportunity for us to do it, but we have to carry the mantle and we have to respect it. We have to be successful in order for others to have an opportunity to do that.
Appreciate it, Coach.
Coach, I think Nick, I think Coach wanted to know what song you were listening to.
Oh, I didn't hear it. Right here.
Right here. That's a good one. Yes.
But week is probably my favorite one.
Week is the number one, right? That's the number one song. Yes. All right.
Drew, obviously the passing game looked really good against Cincinnati. What did you like the most, and like how important is it? Like just spreading the ball around. I mean, obviously so many receivers getting involved in everything.
Yeah, no doubt. I think Coach Partridge really does a great job of scheming up defenses. He's in there all night, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, scheming out the defense. And, I thought he put us in great situations to be able to complete passes in the game. And like you said, we had a ton of different receivers catch the ball again, and, a lot of guys to rely on and, be able to throw the football too. So, just got to keep building on that and keep scheming them up and keep attacking the defenses.
As a quarterback, like, in your opinion, like, do you prefer, having like that one or two just absolute superstars, you can get the ball to in any situation, or do you like, spreading the wealth, 5, 6, 7 guys, really trying to get anyone involved? Is there a favorite between the two?
Yeah, I think it's great to have a superstar and all that, but I think we got a couple, but at the same time, we got a lot of guys that I can rely on, and guys that come to practice each and every day with an intent to get better and an intent to have detail in practice and to go out there in the games and execute. So, I think having such depth in the receiver room, like you said, is very important and a big part of our offense. And I think we got some guys that really have come along these past 2 weeks, and I'm excited for the future of this team.
Just it seems like there's just a lot of positivity, like with between you, Coach George. Like, how have you seen maybe that reverberate throughout the team? Like, does the team really embrace like obviously it was a tough loss the other day, but you guys have learning lessons and stuff like that.
Yeah, no doubt. You can't sleep on winning, and when you lose, you got to get better and learn. And Coach, just like Coach George always says, when you lose, it's a learning experience. And for us, I think offensively, like you said in the second half, we got rolling a little bit, and that was good for our offense. It was good for our team, and I thought we caught a nice stride there, and hope to continue that. And we just, from winning or losing, you got to go in the film. You got to be critical with yourself. You got to be hard on yourself, and you got to look at the film and truly find out what's better and what you could do better. And, that's what we did yesterday, and that's what we're doing today. And, like Coach George always says, from a loss, you got to learn. So that's what we're doing.
You mentioned played better in the second half, but what can you do? What can this team do to have better starts to the game and have a better first half than what you had against Cincinnati?
Yes, sir. Just got to get that first down, and our game plan is always good. And in the first half, we just got to go out there and execute. There was a couple things that I missed, a couple things, protection, receivers. It's a team game, especially offensively. And if one guy messes up, the play doesn't work. So. For all of us, we just got to go execute right away. And, I think finding that stride in the second half and kind of late in that second quarter, really gave our offense a lot of confidence. And, we really found a groove there. So hopefully we can continue that going into the first quarter and for the rest of the season. And, yes, sir.
As you get ready for this matchup with Liberty, what stands out about that Flame defense?
Yeah, they're a multiple defense. They play hard. They run to the football. They're well coached, and physically they're they're a physically good looking team, and so I'm going to dive into them more here. Just came from watching film with them or of them, and going to go back and watch some more film. So going to really dive into them, but they look like a solid defense, and very, very strong players, and they play hard. So I'm excited.
I believe for practices, you guys still like clock in and out with that sled. Like, what's that like? Is that just something that kind of cool that the team's done and everything?
Yeah, no, that's a Coach George thing, and he stands on those three sleds every single day when we clock in, and we clock in and we clock out. So it's when we come onto the field, it's business. And it's. I think he told us the reps, but I mean, we've probably at this point have gotten over 100 reps of hands inside, and it's not too big for me, but those defensive and offensive guys that hands inside wins, and so you get over 100 reps of just doing that from walking to practice and leaving practice. So I think it's a great way to really lock guys into practice. We do it right when we get on the field and then right when we leave, and Coach George is there making sure that we're taking it with intention. So I think it's a great way to lock into practice.
As a quarterback who's probably never really used that, has it taken a little while to get used to? Or
yeah, but at the same time, like I take it for the intention of what Coach George puts it there for. So I don't necessarily focus on having my hands inside, but mentally I'm saying I hit these 3 bags and then we hit the ground running. Like we're not allowed to hit the bags and walk. We got to hit the bags and run on the field. So for me, it's the way I lock into practice, and then boom, you clock out, hit the bags again, go inside, and then you watch the tape. So, I love it. I think it's a great way, and I don't know, maybe one day I'll be blocking with my hands inside. So we'll see.
Obviously, Cincinnati was able to pass the ball really well, but like, is it almost in a way like a good thing that you guys were really tested in the secondary, this early in the season, and able to really kind of learn a lot from that game?
Yeah, I think that the way Cincinnati was able to pass the ball was unexpected to us because they're more dominant in the run game. So when they were passing the ball, I think that we were able to like kind of see adversity and just like build each other up through that. And yeah.
Just looking at your guys' offense, I mean, BG's really in the passing game, spreading the ball around. Obviously a lot different than last year with Harold Fannin. As a defensive guy, what are the challenges of having to game plan for running backs, tight ends, wide receivers, everyone catching the ball in the passing game?
So we don't underestimate nobody. All right. Like the running backs, we see every running back as like a challenge in a way. We love to stop the run and stuff like that. The pass game, we're not afraid of it. Like we just, I don't know, like overall, we just, yeah.
Each practice, you guys clock in and clock out with the sled. What's that like, and how's the team kind of embraced that as you go into practice and everything like that?
That's how we start the day, 3 T's. It all comes down to that, being able to punch, block, shed, and just do all that. I think that's a big part of our routine. Without that, then like everything won't function the way it needs to.
Forcing turnovers is always a key part to any game. How much is that technique? How much is that mentality to force turnovers?
Ski mask mentality. That's what we build it off of. I know Coach George says it a lot to us. So that ski mask mentality is like see ball, get ball. Like we want the ball in our hands at all times. As a defense, I think getting the ball back for our offense is something big.
Obviously, Liberty's been a great program. The last few years. Obviously, has a really good offense. What are the biggest challenges that you've kind of seen and are expecting from them this weekend?
So I know they've made a bowl game, I think the past 2 years, or yeah. So yeah. I think coming off of this loss to Cincinnati is going to be like our challenge point. I gave a quote from Martin Luther King that was about like how do you respond to adversity. Like the loss was unexpected, but how are we gonna come back from that? And I think with what we have, that we're gonna come back even stronger.